Welcome back to another Explainer. Today we're taking a foundational journey into something that is literally reshaping our world, and let's be honest, probably your daily life: artificial intelligence. We're going to strip away all that sci-fi hype, look at the actual mechanics under the hood, trace the history of how we got here, and finally categorize what the future of this tech actually looks like. So here's our roadmap for this Explainer. First, we'll be demystifying artificial intelligence. Then we'll look at the evolution of knowledge transfer. And finally, we'll break down the three distinct levels of AI. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Demystifying Artificial Intelligence. Okay, let's dive right in. What exactly is artificial intelligence? I mean, it's a term thrown around constantly these days, but to really grasp it, we've got to cut through all the noise. AI isn't magic, right? It refers to computer systems designed to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. Things like understanding language, recognizing images, or solving really complex problems. So think of it less like a robot with a conscious brain and more like a highly advanced, ultra-fast pattern-matching intern. But how does a machine actually pull that off? Well, when we look under the hood of modern AI, the workflow is actually surprisingly straightforward. It starts with your user input, which the system then compares against massive amounts of training data. It passes this info through its model, identifying these complex statistical patterns it learned during its training phase, and boom, produces the output. Instead of being explicitly programmed with rigid, old-school if-then rules for every single possible scenario, modern AI is essentially a statistical engine. It's predicting the most mathematically likely answer rather than actually thinking the way you or I do. And because it's trained on these massive data sets, literally libraries worth of text, images, and audio, it operates purely on probability. When it's generating text, for instance, it's just predicting the next token, which is really just a fragment of a word. You can kind of think of it as the world's absolute most sophisticated version of your phone's autocomplete feature. The absolutely crucial takeaway here: AI does not possess human understanding or consciousness. No way. It doesn't know what it's saying. It's simply predicting the next logical piece of the puzzle based on incredibly vast mathematical relationships. Moving right along to Section 2, the evolution of knowledge transfer. You know, human progress has always been bottlenecked by how we store, retrieve, and share information. Think about it. We started out in the oral era, moved to the writing era with clay tablets, and then hit the print era with physical books. Then, just in our own lifetimes, we experienced the internet era of global digital access, which was super rapidly followed by the search era, keyword retrieval. And now, we've crossed into the AI era, the era of knowledge synthesis. This isn't just some cool new gadget. It is literally humanity's latest, most powerful solution to our oldest problem of transferring knowledge. If we zoom all the way back to the very beginning, the oral era, knowledge was preserved entirely through collective memory and storytelling around the fire. It's actually fascinating to realize that rhythm, rhyme, and storytellers were our very first indexing systems. A catchy song or a rhyming poem wasn't just entertainment back then. It was a highly effective survival tool. That's exactly how early human societies ensured reliable knowledge transfer and passed down crucial, life-saving skills long before a single word was ever written down. Fast forward past early writing, and we hit the print era. The invention of the printing press radically changed the economics of information. Seriously, it was a real game changer. Manuscripts were no longer meticulously copied by hand, just for the elite. Mass knowledge transfer suddenly became a reality for the wider public. This rapid democratization of knowledge expanded universities and pretty much sparked the scientific revolution. And this is a really crucial historical anchor for us, because AI is poised to spark a similarly massive revolution in how we process and distribute information today. So let's look at the transition we're actively living through right this second: the search era versus the AI era. In the search era, think of your dozen daily Google searches. The burden is entirely on you. You type in the keywords, you retrieve a pile of documents, and you have to synthesize the answer in your own head. But in the AI era, the system does the heavy lifting for us. It directly generates, synthesizes, and acts upon knowledge. It's a monumental shift. It's basically like going from having to retrieve a list of ingredients at the grocery store to having a master chef just cook the entire meal for you. Which brings us to Section 3, the three levels of AI. If we map out the evolutionary path of artificial intelligence, we see a really clear spectrum. It starts with narrow AI, moves to general AI in the middle, and reaches super intelligence on the far end. And looking at the spectrum really helps us separate today's practical, task-focused tools from the future entities that could eventually operate well beyond human capability. All right, let's ground ourselves in today's reality: artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. These are systems designed to do one specific thing with incredibly high efficiency. And make no mistake, every single piece of AI deployed in the real world today, whether it's your favorite chatbot, the recommendation engine on your streaming service, or advanced medical scanners, it is all narrow AI. They're brilliant, sure, but they're bounded. They literally cannot transfer their knowledge to unrelated domains without being completely dismantled and retrained from scratch. Now, the theoretical next step is artificial general intelligence, or AGI. This is basically the holy grail of computer science. AGI describes systems that possess human-level reasoning across any intellectual domain. Just imagine an AI that could learn to diagnose a rare disease, design a massive skyscraper, and then turn around and write the complex software to run it, all without task-specific retraining. It would completely match human flexibility, seamlessly integrating memory and creativity. This is the point where AI goes from being just a specialized tool to a universal intellectual colleague. And then we reach the profound, fully hypothetical frontier, artificial superintelligence, or ASI. What happens when an AI surpasses human cognitive limits in every single domain? We're talking about exceeding our own capabilities in creativity, emotional understanding, and strategic thinking. An ASI could theoretically process the sum total of human knowledge instantly, potentially solving climate change or fundamental physics literally overnight. It wouldn't just be a digital assistant anymore. It would be an intellect operating on a level we can barely even comprehend. When we compare these three levels conceptually, the leap in flexibility is just staggering. Narrow AI is highly limited, right? It absolutely requires task-specific training to function. General AI scales up to human-level flexibility, learning naturally across totally different tasks, just like we do. And superintelligence? It operates with extremely high flexibility, continually self-improving far beyond our biological limits. But the crucial reality check we always need to keep in mind is their current status. ANI is widely deployed right now, AGI remains theoretical, and ASI is still fully 100% hypothetical. Which brings us to a final, absolutely critical question. As artificial superintelligence promises to one day surpass human limits entirely, how on earth will humanity ensure its ethical control and alignment with our own values? Maintaining safety and ethical boundaries is going to be just as critical, if not more so, than the exponential scaling of the technology itself. It really is the ultimate challenge of our new era. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious about the future, and I'll catch you next time.